Donald Trump memes are making an absolute meltdown in Japan, with Nintendo, Naruto, and Pokemon so upset they've decided to get the government of Japan involved. We're going to talk about today on The Legal Mindset. We teach you to be your own judge. Of course, I'm Andrew Esquire, American attorney. Now, this is a saga that I started following back when the DHS had a video that was related to Pokemon and saying they gotta catch them all. We've upgraded this meltdown as we've seen more memes come out until the Japanese officials have officially asked the US government to stop posting game and anime memes. And this comes not just from a random politician, but the actual official Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Japan. So this is something that a government agency signed off on to make a statement. Now, this is coming after Trump just posted this very, very interesting, and it creates very interesting legal questions. So where do we start? And I think for me, where this starts is the request. We have to understand exactly what he said, because the Japanese and many other foreign ministers that are out there talking to people across the world, they have to be very, very specific in their language. So Toshimitsu Motegi and the ministry officials formally stated that reproducing copyrighted content without consent is inappropriate even for public institutions. Now, this is the thing that he said. You have to read this very carefully. So I think the gut reaction of some people might be, well, you can't tell us what to do, or this is America. Like, what are you talking about? We can do whatever. What are you going to do about it? You got to calm down. You got to control your emotions here and look at what he's actually saying. He's saying it's inappropriate. He's not saying it's necessarily illegal, because he's not implying to control U.S. law or to know U.S. law even at all. It's not clear whether or not the foreign ministry understands fair use doctrine. That's not something we know conclusively or not, because U.S. law for copyright, etc., may be different than the parameters that are in Japanese law. And that's the very, very interesting thing, is using that word inappropriate, not illegal, inappropriate. And I think that will bring us to the right decision when we look at this overall. So let's also look at saving the memes. This is a big interest. And look, memes are an accessible, widespread form of political satire, parody, and commentary that enable ordinary people to criticize the government, advancing public discourse in a marketplace of ideas. We're able to have a back and forth on memes. We can have battle of the memes on the internet and no actual lives are lost, right? But we settle things through these meme wars. And you know what? It ends up actually sometimes really resolving issues and coming to conclusions when you go through these online meme wars. So, memes are an important part of the political discourse. I don't want to see memes go away entirely. That's one interest we have here. And I think as Americans, there's an interest in keeping the memes alive. But that said, government parody does not automatically win a copyright or trademark case. Just because it's the US government doing it doesn't mean they win. Right? So that's very important. It's a case-by-case analysis, just like in the Ethan Klein case, where Denims, Krogan, Caseytron, they're all one by one, and they can all have different outcomes. Now, some arguments go towards Trump, some go towards Japan, some depend on which one you're talking about, because the DHS Pokemon video is a little bit different and a different factors than the Naruto edit with Trump, right? There's two different things, and especially since AI was used to create the Trump image and was not used in the DHS case. So going into the factors, some go towards Trump, some go towards Japan. So some that go towards Trump is that this is very transformative. It's satire and commentary. It's made to mock. It's made to make fun, make light of something. In the DHS video, gotta catch 'em all is used in a different way with the word catch, right? Because catch isn't exactly the same as catching a monster in a ball versus catching someone who's crossing the border illegally. Then you've got core First Amendment speech, because Trump can argue, hey, political speech, political parody, that's at the core of the First Amendment. He also can say that it's not a market substitute. People are not going out there buying the Trump Naruto AI edit or the DHS video in lieu of buying Pokemon, right? So it's not substituting in the market. However, Japan has some very strong arguments as well, and we have to consider those fairly. So it is not a parody of the IP itself. It's more what they would call pure satire or propaganda, which is a different way to look at something if it's just for purely propaganda purposes. Also, how much it takes, the substance, right? It's taking distinctive characters and themes. And this is something we saw with the Denham's case, with where they looked at exactly how much did she take of that Hassan Piker content nuke over there. So when you're looking at this, how much did they take of the Pokemon theme? Okay, they took a lot of it. All right, so that might go towards Japan. Also, the biggest one is it harms brand reputation and licensing value. So this is supposed to be a wholesome family company, wholesome family stuff with Pokemon, Nintendo, Mario. So when they see pro-war associated with that, they think, hey, that's going to hurt our brand reputation, licensing value if someone was to be confused and think that these companies were actually, pro-war or or anti-immigration, when actually they really don't want to take a political stance on anything. They want to sell to everybody, right? That's obviously what their goal is, right? There's a foreign policy angle, and that is that Japan is a key U.S. ally, and preserving relationships is based, at least in part, on mutual respect. You have to have mutual respect between the parties when you're dealing with foreign policy. If you don't at least respect each other and take each other seriously when you make serious requests, that is not going to go well for a mutual relationship. So when someone gives you an earnest, sincere advice, right, that is something that you should try to listen to, especially if it's coming from a wise person and it's coming from a person that you have a trusting relationship with. And this is somebody that is a key ally, especially in that Pacific region. That's Japan is a very, very important ally. Also, one thing I want to bring up, and this just is to be fair, I hope that Japan also is balanced when it comes to left and the right in the United States. One of the big problems we have in the United States is it's rules for thee and not for me. And, one party will yell about something that the other party is doing while also doing it themselves. So it's got to be even. You've got to apply that evenly. When you see memes coming out with other political parties, you should be sending the same thing, because it doesn't matter whether it's pro or anti. It really shouldn't be involved in politics at all whatsoever. But as we go here, the memes must be protected, but Japan is a key ally making a sincere request. So I do believe that Trump can consider, hey, let me just stop using these, because look, Japan is asking us nicely. It got to the point where they needed to get their foreign affairs office involved. So it's pretty serious. Now, maybe they can also talk to, maybe, Trump can have some concessions from Japan as well. Like, for example, dealing with Nintendo's lawfare as they're going to crush competition and trying to crush competition, including US companies. Maybe that's something we can kindly request back to them. But Japan should also apply this pressure in a bipartisan way across the world to any politician that is using this, because once again, this shouldn't be associated with politics. And I think that's something that we can all agree on. Let's just enjoy our games and not inject politics into the games. But I want to know what you guys think, and please leave a comment below. I will catch you on the next one.